Have you ever wondered how blockchain networks can know what's happening in the real world? Like, how can a smart contract execute a trade when the price of Bitcoin hits a certain level? Or how can a decentralized finance app know the outcome of a football game to settle a bet? The answer lies in something called oracles. And they're a critical piece of the blockchain puzzle that most people don't fully understand. In this video, we're going to deep dive into what oracles are, how they work, and why they're so essential to the future of blockchain technology. If you're serious about crypto, you need to know about oracles because without them, most of the decentralized applications we rely on just wouldn't work. Here's the problem: blockchain is designed to be secure, transparent, and tamper proof, but they're also isolated from the outside world. They can only process information that's already on the blockchain. So, how do they get real world data like stock prices, weather reports, or sports scores into the blockchain in a trustworthy way? That's where oracles come in. Without oracles, blockchains would be like a computer with no internet connection. They would be powerful but limited. Oracles are the bridge that connects blockchains to the real world. And today, we're going to explore how this technology works and why it's so revolutionary. So, what exactly are oracles? In the simplest term, oracles are services that provide external data to smart contracts on the blockchain. Think of them as a messenger or gateway that brings real world information into the blockchain ecosystem. But unlike simple data feeds, oracles have to do this in a way that is secure, reliable, and resistant to tampering. Because if the data an oracle provides is wrong or compromised, it can have devastating consequences for the smart contracts relying on that data. So there are different types of oracles based on their functions and source of data. The main ones are inbound oracles. These oracles bring real world data into the blockchain. For example, they can fetch the latest price of a cryptocurrency, weather condition, or election result. Outbound oracles. These oracles send data from the blockchain to the outside world. For instance, they can trigger a payment or send a notification when a smart contract condition is met. Then you have software oracles. These oracles pull data from online sources like websites, APIs, or databases. They can check the current price of an asset on a financial website and feed that information into a smart contract. And then we have hardware oracles. These oracles retrieve data from physical devices like sensors. Imagine a smart contract that tracks the temperature of a shipment using sensors, ensures it stays within safe limits. And then you have human oracles. In some cases, trusted individuals or organizations can act as oracles, providing data manually. For example, a panel of experts might provide the result of a subjective event like a competition. So, how do oracles work? The process is quite technical but fascinating. Here's a simplified explanation. When a smart contract needs external data, it makes a request to an oracle. The oracle then retrieves the required data from its service, verifies its accuracy, and then sends it back to the smart contract on the blockchain. This process has to be secure because the data is wrong or tampered with, the entire smart contract could fail or be exploited. That's why oracles use various methods like cryptographic proofs and decentralized networks to ensure that the data they provide is trustworthy. Decentralized oracles versus centralized oracles. One of the biggest discussions in the blockchain space is whether oracles should be centralized or decentralized. Centralized oracles, these are controlled by a single entity, which makes them faster and easier to implement, but also more vulnerable to attacks and manipulation. If a centralized oracle goes down or is compromised, it could have devastating impacts on the smart contracts depending on it. Decentralized oracles, these operate on a decentralized network where multiple sources of data are used to achieve consensus. This makes them more secure and less prone to manipulation, but it can also make them slower and more complex to manage. Chainlink is a leading example of a decentralized decentralized Oracle network that's widely used in the blockchain industry, and for me is a must when it comes to making an investment. Not financial advice, of course. Let's talk about why oracles are such a game changer for blockchain technology. Bridging the real and digital worlds, oracles are the key to making smart contracts truly useful in the real world. Without oracles, smart contracts would be limited to data that is already on the blockchain, severely restricting their potential. With Oracle, smart contracts can interact with real world events, making them applicable to everything from finance and insurance to supply chain management and gaming, enabling decentralized finance, also known as DeFi. Oracles are the fundamental element of DeFi, also known as decentralized finance, providing real-time data needed for things like lending, borrowing, and trading. For example, decentralized exchanges rely on oracles to provide accurate price feeds for assets. If an oracle's data is wrong, it could lead to massive losses and exploitation of the platform. Automation of real world processes. Oracles allow for automation of complex processes that depend on real world data. For example, an insurance smart contract could automatically pay out claims based on weather data provided by the Oracle. No more waiting for human approval or manual processes. Everything happens automatically and transparently. Transparency and trust. Oracles help maintain the transparency and trust that is a core to blockchain technology. By using decentralized oracles, we can ensure that the data feed into smart contracts is unbiased and reliable, which is critical for the integration of decentralized systems. Now, as powerful as oracles are, they're not without their challenges or risks. One of the biggest issues is something known as the Oracle problem. This refers to the challenge of ensuring that the data provided by oracles is accurate, reliable, and free of manipulation. Since oracles act as the bridge between the real world and the blockchain, they're a potential point of failure. If an oracle provides incorrect information or data, it could lead to devastating outcomes for smart contracts. This is why decentralized oracles are so important. They reduce the risk by relying on multiple data sources and achieving consensus. When we have security concerns, oracles can be targeted by hackers looking to exploit the data they provide. For example, an oracle feeding price data to a DeFi platform is compromised. It could be used to manipulate the market and drain funds from the platform. This is why security of oracles is a top priority, and why projects like Chainlink invest heavily in securing their network. Cost and complexity. Implementing oracles, especially decentralized ones, can be costly and complex. They require significant resource to maintain and operate, which can be a barrier for smaller projects. Additionally, the complexity of managing multiple data sources and ensuring consensus can slow down transactions, which may not be ideal for certain applications. And then we have the usual legal and regulatory issues. As with all blockchains, oracles also face potential legal and regulatory challenges depending on the jurisdiction. The use of oracles and the data they provide could be subject to different laws and regulations. This is an evolving area that is likely to see more clarity as blockchain technology continues to develop. So, what's next for oracles? As blockchain technology continues to grow, the role of oracles will become more critical. We're already seeing the development of more advanced oracle solutions that aim to address the challenges we've been discussing in today's video. Projects like Chainlink are leading the way in creating decentralized oracle networks that are secure, scalable, and reliable. In the future, we can expect oracles to become even more integrated into the fabric of blockchain technology, enabling new use cases and making smart contracts more powerful than ever before and ever imagined. From real-time finance data to IoT integrations, the possibilities for oracles are endless. And as more industries begin to adopt blockchain technology, the demand for robust, reliable oracles will only increase. monstrously. If you found this video helpful, do hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, check out all the video content from educational content to technical analysis on the Cheeky Crypto channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more videos. And why don't you check out this video on DePin and why it's the next big thing? Go check it out now.